Welcome everyone to another episode of The Creative Minds. Joining me here today is David Marlow. So, David, can you start off by just telling us who you are and what is it that you do?
Sure. I'm the founder of Vluru, which is a coaching and consulting company. And what I have done for the last 30 years, I've led company-wide transformations at three Fortune 500 companies,
Mhm.
serving in senior leadership executive roles and as well as startups. And throughout that 30-year career, I've helped over 1,000 people and businesses find fulfillment in their lives, their careers, their products through my coaching and consulting. And in the midst of my own career transition, I was able to put a name to the practice of helping people find their purpose. It's called Ikigai. And I've created a process and a framework around that to help people and businesses uncover their purpose and bring that into their lives and those around them.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. So, can you just walk us through a bit about on actually how you started off, how your journey was like, what drove you to start your own business, and why did you choose to help people?
Sure. I'll say 4 or 5 years ago, I could see that my career that I had shared with you, a 30-year career at Fortune 500 companies,
Yeah,
was not going to end the way I had planned.
yeah,
You could just see trends and things in the business. And as a result, I got active on LinkedIn because the last place you want to be on LinkedIn is when you need a job, right?
yeah,
First reaching out to people.
yeah,
And in the course of that, I just started sharing things that I felt or thought, and just putting things out there, just me, no agenda,
yeah,
no no plan or marketing or anything. And so since it was just me, after a while, I asked some folks, what was their impression of what I did and what was my brand. And one friend of mine said, "Well, I don't know about your brand, but you ought to look into Ikigai." And I'm like, "What's that?" He said, "Oh, just go look into it." And so,
yeah, yeah,
so that's that. And what I found was that I had been looking for that for a long time and had found elements of it, and putting a name to it really helped me kind of bring it all together. And then when the division I worked at was dissolved at work, and they offered me another role, or I could take early retirement. I saw that
yeah,
as an opportunity to do what I had been wanting to do and what I enjoyed the most, which was helping
yeah,
people find their purpose. And so I
yeah.
started my own company, and that's what I've been doing.
So it's very interesting that you say you want to help people find their purpose, because I personally love that and it just inspires me as well. But what drives you to do that? Like, why do you choose to do that? Some people don't care. People are like, you know what? I want to make my money. I want to just make everything for me. Why is it that you care about other people to help them find their purpose?
Oh yeah. So the the power of understanding Ikigai is really that's your purpose. That's what you're here on earth to do, right?
Mm,
And for me, mine is to encourage, empower, and enable people to be all that they can be. And
mm,
so
mm.
when I'm doing that, that's like my highlight of my life. And it
Yeah.
can be done in any number of ways. I share with
Hmm.
people, pardon me, a little raspiness this morning. Um, I share with people that, when I was a disc jockey for a number of years. I was on radio and TV.
Mm.
I was a sergeant in the Marine Corps. I was an engineer. I was an executive. I've been a coach of an eighth grade girls basketball team, all of these things.
Yeah.
And in all of those, when I was in that state of flow, when I was in at my happiest, when I was feeling the most fulfilled, was when I was helping people in those roles,
Mm,
live out their purpose, or
mm,
achieve, their own goals, that kind of thing.
mm,
And so in all those states, that's what really, gets me jazzed and gives me energy and
mm.
fulfills my purpose.
Amazing. So, David, you talked a lot about Ikigai. So, can you tell us what Ikigai is?
Sure. It's the word ikigai is a Japanese combination word that means life purpose. So it's
Hmm.
about, what, why do you get up in the morning, right?
Hmm.
Your purpose, your calling. It's what gives you meaning to life. And living out your ikigai is that unique expression that only you can do, because it's about you, right? It's
Yeah.
your gifts, it's your talents, it's what drives you. And so living out your ikigai is that. that fulfilling that purpose.
And how do you help people kind of navigate through that? So if someone comes to you and he was like, David, I don't know who I am, I don't know what I care about, I need you to help me through the whole process. I need a purpose. So how is it that you approach a situation like that?
Sure. I love that conversation, first of all, because when someone is at that point, then they're really ready to uncover it.
Yeah.
And I use the word uncover because your Ikigai is there, right? The essence of you is there. And life sort of happens, and we get disappointments, and we get, we got to-dos, and all of that kind of piles on. And so really the process is helping people uncover that. And I do that in my coaching through 3 different phases. The first is that uncovering. And that's a lot of, self-reflection and, asking things like, what would you do if you were done? If you were done with what you're doing now, what would you do, right? And then helping them get a name for it. So naming it, like to help them. I do the values, verbs, and verse exercise with someone. And that's really find out where your values are. What are those verbs that you're doing? So I shared encourage. I encourage people a lot. That's kind of what gets me going. So that's one of my verbs: empower and enable. And then a verse to give you, your sentence, if you will, because if you understand it, even a little bit, and can share it with someone else, then they can help you and support you in your mission, and maybe give you a deeper understanding of it.
Yeah.
And then finally, it's living into it. It's finding that way to manifest that. I shared with you lots of different ways to do that, but especially someone, I'll say maybe early in their careers, they're trying to figure out what they want to do. Connecting to your Ikigai is a really powerful way to find those roles and strengthen your opportunity to both understand it and to live into it.
Awesome. So I have a question here. So I personally am curious about personal growth. I'm curious about trying to understand at a deeper level, understanding life at a deeper level. And I'm curious about kind of, like you said, like figuring out who I am and kind of deconstructing and going backwards to really figuring out that core. But there are other people who are not still or are not really aware of that, or don't really care as much. So when you come and approach them and ask them, so what are your values? They have no idea. So how can you get them to see what they're good at, and how can you get them to see, because like self-reflection takes time. You cannot just come to one person and that person kind of can give you everything and tell you everything about yourself. How can you integrate that and not take so much time and get them to realize their worth and their value and start taking action on that?
Sure. It is a challenge because you do have to be willing to do some level of self-reflection.
Yeah.
As you said, though, not everyone's good at that necessarily. And so part of it's helping them along. That's why it's important to have a coach.
Yeah.
It helps to have a coach just because you're seeing the world as it is, as you think it is, right? And it's hard to break those barriers down and see it as it could be. So one of the things I have a young man I'm coaching right now, and he struggled with that. And some of the things I asked him was like, just what was a really good day for you?
Yeah.
What was tell me about the last really good day you had. And started sharing, elements of highlights, or when he felt energized, or when he, didn't feel so energized. And you dig into that. And so for him, for example, he had some challenges at work, and just wasn't being heard at work. He didn't feel like he was being respected, and some things like that. And what we came to was he really likes to have a level of influence. He wants to be able to influence decisions and so forth, right? And to be able to do that, that's kind of that's what gets him jazzed.
Yeah.
And early in his career, he's not able to do that as much, or in some of the jobs he had, one employer didn't want to hear from him. He just wanted him to do the job.
Yeah.
And so even that level of understanding has given him an opportunity to, he moved into a different role actually now, because he was never going to be able to connect, even with that initial understanding of his Ikigai, in a role where it's just do what you're told and don't say anything. Right.
100%. I remember one question that came in mind when I personally started doing this, or actually started getting curious about all this, was um, so what was something that I used to do as a kid that excited me? Like literally, that was the first question where I was like, okay, like I don't know anything about me, and I want to figure this out, right? And another thing that you mentioned as well was how we kind of have those filters that we place in our lives where like we can no longer see things as they are, but it's because of those things that the filters that we created in our lives that we see only part of what life really is. We don't see it as it is. And it's just looking at it from a bird's eye view, from a bigger perspective, of a higher perspective, and looking deep down at it with the truth. I think that can really like help so much. And so, is Ikigai specific to a certain group age, or is it for anyone at any age?
Yeah, it's for anyone at any age.
Okay.
I define Ikigai into three eras.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about our lives and our average
Mm-hmm.
life expectancy, we get
Mm-hmm.
about three windows of 10,000 days.
Mm-hmm.
Um, 0 to 27, 27 to 54, and 54
Mm-hmm.
to early 80s, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
if you get beyond 80s, you're in bonus time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. And so uncovering that can be different aspects because part of the refinement over the years for me has been
Mm-hmm.
doing different things, and so
Yeah.
there's an element of that. So early on, uh, people spend maybe more time in the experimentation stage and in the prototyping stage, and in the middle it's growing those skills and really refining that, and then the final is really finding a way to do it the way you've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Right, a lot of people, especially in their their 50s, feel something's missing. They felt there's
Mm.
more to life when they hit that
Yeah.
stage, and then they found Ikigai was the answer for them.
Yeah.
I would say if you think about your understanding of Ikigai, when you're early in your journey, it's this big, and
Mm.
as you go into it more, it gets finer and finer until you really have
Mm.
a super deep understanding of
Mm-hmm.
it. So it's absolutely for everyone at every age,
Mm-hmm.
and the earlier you
Yeah.
start that reflection process,
Yeah.
the quicker you get to that refined stage.
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted to ask you, why is it that you say at an age of 50, that's when it gets more refined? Why can't we refine it at a younger age? Why is it that we wait? Or why is it actually not that we wait, but so many people reach to this realization at an older age?
Yeah, I think part of it is because there's a little realization that this is your last 10,000 days, so there's an
Yeah.
urgency to it.
Yeah.
The other is when you I'll just take myself as an example. So I was going to school, and then I started my career, and then I met
Mm.
my became the woman who became my wife, and then we started having kids, and it's like there was just a lot almost kind of predetermined, and a lot of I
Yeah.
was very busy doing the things I had to do,
Yeah.
and it wasn't until you get older sometimes that you have that chance to take that step back. And
Mhm.
that's why I encourage people, even at a young age, to do that, because it is very easy to get caught up in the have tos and the should haves and the career path and having kids and all of that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So that's why I say it's for everyone. People do often, you know, seek it when they're in their 50s because there's a
Mm.
level of urgency,
Yeah.
and or something like 56% of all people over the age of 50 have their careers ended in a way they didn't
Mm.
intend,
Mm.
myself included.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of, so more than half.
Yeah.
And so there's also that critical moment too that causes reflection and
Yeah.
whatnot. But no, I
And
really, really encourage young people to do
yeah.
it
Yeah.
too.
And you said the deeper you get in it, the more refined it gets. What do you mean the more refined it gets?
So I enjoyed, as I said early on, coaching and teaching
Yeah.
and things like that. But I didn't understand that as an aspect of the deeper root of what I was doing. I saw that
Mm.
as like an adjunct or a part of the role. It was when I really got that so I could look back and I might think about jobs I enjoyed. It was because we were making things, we were improving things, and for a long time I thought improvement, like process improvement. I'm a Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That was it. But what I found was, even within that, was when I was helping people connect and people do their thing, or a company too, because a company having its purpose aligned and then supporting its people aligning that purpose, and that's a win-win.
Yeah.
So understanding that those were the moments, not so much the higher level, like I said, transformation efforts or coaching, coaching soccer. Coaching soccer is not my Ikigai.
Yeah.
But obviously within that, there's a lot of opportunity to help individuals learn about themselves and grow and understand their gifts. And so,
yeah. And you said it gets more refined, right? When it gets refined, does it mean that this is it, this is you, and it will never change? Or does it change as you evolve?
So that's a great question. Your Ikigai is set. That's who you are. That's who you were created to be. The manifestation of it can change. So, as I shared earlier, I've lived out my Ikigai as a disc jockey, on radio, as a newsman, as a sergeant in the United States Marine Corps. Right? I mean, that's about as different as you can get. So the way you manifest that can change, and does change as you grow skills, as you grow understanding, as you develop, as a person. I have a friend, for example, a client actually, that he was a pastor, and in his heart of hearts, he wants to serve people in that capacity, right? But he had cancer, and he battled cancer twice, and as a result, he just doesn't have the energy and the physical ability to serve people in that role anymore. So we sat down and got to the core of what he really wants to do, and found a different way he could still meet that need. He's a writer, and if you Google Ikigai, for example, you'll see a 4-circle Venn diagram that shows an intersection, right? And I use that to help people manifest their Ikigai, to figure out how right then they might want to live it out. So for him, he had the passion and desire to spread his vision of faith, and he loved writing, so he began writing books. But if you look at his circle of strengths, so it's purpose and passion, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what people are willing to pay for. He was missing in the circle on skills, because he didn't know how to write dialogue. He's an excellent writer, but writing articles and writing dialogue are very different, right? So novels and things.
Just to explain a bit more about Ikigai, if for everyone listening, it's just think about the things that you're good at, the things that you love, the thing that the world needs, and the things that you could be paid for. So now, kind of defining that, you said earlier that it helps you figure out who you are and who you're created to be. So do you believe that we are born created to be something specific, or are we the ones who create ourselves?
Sure, that's a great question. So to be something specific, if you're referring to that as career, then no, I don't. I don't think that, like, I was destined to be a disc jockey or an Ikigai coach, but I was destined, I think, to be who I am, and at my core level, those things that make me special and unique, and my gifts, right? So that's why I separate, and even the Venn diagram, which is a very helpful tool, that's not your Ikigai. That's a way to show the world your Ikigai, if you will. And your, the essence of you. I mean, that's our one universal calling, right? To be the real us in ourselves. And so that's where I'll differentiate Ikigai from what you're meant to be in the career sense. And it goes well beyond that. Although we all have to make a living, and so career is important.
100%. So then, who are you?
who am I? So
Yeah.
I am. That's a great, question. So
Yeah.
I am that person who is about helping other people be what they were meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is what drives me. That is what, I mean, I could share with you. There are other aspects to my personality.
Yeah.
I'm a
Please do. Yeah.
person of faith. I am a husband. I am a grandfather, which I love. I love being a grandfather. That's like the best job in the world.
Yeah.
Um, and so all those things are me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but at my core, what I'm here to do, and what the best expression of me
Mm-hmm.
is when I'm helping other people live out, their
Mm-hmm.
true selves. So
Mm-hmm.
my grandson's a great example. My grandson likes to do voices.
Yeah.
He he would get he'd get upset about something, excuse me, and he would talk kind of soft and real. I'd say, yeah, I need you to do a big boy voice.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't do it. And finally I said, I need you to do a grandpa voice. So then
Yeah.
he would do a grandpa voice like
Yeah.
that. And then he began doing other voices and imitations, and from the movie Aladdin, The Cave of
Mm.
Wonders.
Yeah.
You know, I can't do it, especially
Yeah.
not today. But
Yeah.
he can do like a perfect Cave of Wonders.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and then he can do the parrot and so forth. Now, do I think he's going to grow up to be, like an impersonator? No,
Yeah.
I don't. I
Yeah.
don't know. What I am doing though is encouraging him to see what gets him excited, learn a skill,
Uh-huh.
learn more about himself, and
Yeah.
explore
Yeah.
with no judgment and no have tos.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
that's the key thing. And so that's where I'm living out that essence of me by
Yeah.
helping him in that way and helping other people in that way.
Yeah.
So it's beyond the job, it's beyond those manifestations, right? I
Yeah.
can live out that joyous part of being me
Yeah.
with him, with this conversation
Yeah.
is awesome too, and so
Yeah.
forth. Does that
Thank
make
you.
sense?
Yeah, 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 100%. And for me, I just wonder, like, why would people not care about this? Like, why would people not want to encourage other people to be themselves? Like, isn't this something innate in each one of us? Why is there certain people who feel this deep desire to want to do that or bring that to other people?
Yeah. That's a good question. It's kind of hard for me to answer since it seems so
Yeah.
obvious to me, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, um, I have uh, friends. So my client that I was sharing with you,
Mhm.
he has a passion for sharing his faith, and he
Mm.
has a passion for connecting it to science. I mean, he's like into multidimensional universes, and
Yeah,
and I
that's
mean, he
pretty
really
cool.
gets that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he can get that, and he has so he may be helping people, live out their fullness too,
Yeah.
but certainly in a different way, in
Uh,
understanding maybe the way the world works, the way faith interacts with science, and so forth, right?
mm.
um, but yeah, it's almost like I was joking with someone who was asking about it. It's almost like the movie Inception.
Yeah.
It's my purpose is helping people find their purpose, so it's like a purpose within a purpose within a purpose.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
I remember it's like it's funny because how can you help someone find their purpose if their purpose is found within them? But it's like you said, it's like you encourage them to, like you said, you were talking about your grandson. So how you're telling him, or you're not putting any limitations to him in his life, where he's allowing himself to try and figure it out himself and see what excites him.
Mhm.
So no, I love that. And so in terms of, if you were like now to look at your, let's say, 18-year-old self, what advice would you give yourself back then?
I would say slow down. You've got
Hmm.
plenty of time,
Yeah, yeah,
and try some things.
yeah,
And be willing to fail at them, and be willing to see them all as part of your growth.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I on a personal level, I struggled with perfectionism.
Yeah.
Um, I'm a recovering perfectionist.
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and so I was afraid to stretch and try some things that would have allowed me, I think, to uncover my Ikigai much earlier,
Yeah.
as well as just know that, things all work out. So take it slow
Yeah.
and learn things from doing small steps.
Yeah.
That would be my advice to my 18-year-old self. And put money in stock earlier
Yeah.
rather than later.
Yeah. 100%. And you talked about struggling with perfectionism, and I've met a lot of people, and I think I'm partly guilty of that too, um, of trying to be perfect. So, what is the thing that gets us obsessed with being perfect? Like, why would that stop us from taking action?
Well, so if you were, share again an example of myself. I was a
Mm,
very good student at school, made
mm,
all A's, and the more A's I made, the more I
mm,
became afraid of not making an A. And so
mm. Yeah.
I took chemistry, for example, and for whatever reason, I'm an engineer by background and stuff, so I'm obviously capable of doing it, but I struggled with chemistry right away, and I dropped the class. I
Yeah.
just dropped it because I
Yeah.
wasn't going to, and I would have learned so much more from that if I had taken it and even
Yeah.
failed. I don't think I would have
Yeah.
failed, but I probably would have come out with a C or something
Yeah.
like that. And
Yeah.
so I limited myself and what I could have learned from that, and didn't always try things that I would have tried just because I was afraid I wouldn't be able
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah. And you know what? The other day I was actually reflecting, which is weird that you brought this up, but I was reflecting like why is it so I got like actually defined a question. So thank you for sharing all of that with us today. And the last question is, what is your definition of success?
So my definition of success is when you are living fully into your purpose in every aspect of your life.
And I'm just trying to help people get to a point where, because a lot of people heard that, like a lot of people heard figuring out your purpose, figuring out what you're meant to be. But like if you were to just give this one advice to someone about beyond that statement of finding your purpose, like something a bit deeper that they can take action with now or really reflect deeper about, what would you add?
So I would say there are other principles of Ikigai that
Yeah.
go deeper than some of what we've even talked about today.
Yeah.
The 10 rules of Ikigai, for example,
Uh-huh.
are, and I'll share those if I can real quick.
Yeah.
Um, Stay active and don't retire. So one, and again,
Yeah.
that may not speak directly to someone,
Yeah.
say your age, but
Yeah.
the point is, if you're doing what you love, if
Yeah.
you're fulfilled in what you're doing, there's no need to retire. And that doesn't mean you keep working at a formal job. It can be a lot of different
Yeah.
ways you can express that, right? Taking life slow and really learning to embrace the
Mm.
moments and being present and mindful in the moments, and surrounding yourself with good friends and good events, maintaining your health, maintaining your body, get in shape, for your next birthday. I'm
Mm.
60 years old and I
Yeah.
run marathons and things, and I will
Yeah.
tell you that 10 years ago I was completely sedentary,
Yeah.
but it was learning to try and grow and do different
Mm.
things, and that's an expression of my Ikigai
Mm.
too. I'm a
Mm.
runner.
Mm.
Those kinds of things. It's much deeper than just, like I
Mm.
said, look for those opportunities in every aspect of your life where
Mm.
you're connected, where you're fulfilled, where you're providing,
Yeah.
a value in that heart sense, right?
Yeah. Okay, so I sense from what you're saying. So to help people just help find more purpose is to be more mindful and consciously and being present in every single moment so that you're able to capture that experience and learn from it, whether you failed or you have not failed.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
that's very well said. I may even
Yeah.
steal that. That's great.
Awesome,
Yeah.
perfect. So again, thank you so much, David, for sharing all that. And for people who want to connect with you, where should they connect with you?
The best way is just through LinkedIn. Just drop me a direct message. You could also email me at dave@vluru.com, which is VLURU. Furu.com.
Awesome.
And
Perfect.
I'm active on LinkedIn every day, so I'm happy to reach out, just like you and I have been able to connect. So.
Awesome, great. And I'm gonna attach your name below so people can get the chance to connect with you directly. So thank you everyone for listening to this episode, and please connect with David. Thank you again, and I hope you have an amazing, awesome rest of your day.